Well, everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the iPhone 17 and compare it against the iPhone XS Max and see how these two iPhones basically hold up and compare. Now, as always, it's really important to understand that both these phones are very different. The iPhone XS Max is significantly older than the iPhone 17. So in almost every single way, the iPhone XS Max is probably going to be the better device in almost every single way. And then, the iPhone 17 is going to be the way better phone than the XS Max, but the XS Max is going to be cheaper. So some people might actually end up preferring that phone, or maybe you're looking at the XS Max and wanting to upgrade to the 17. So in every which way, we're going to talk about all those types of examples. But if you want to pick up some phones that I would recommend buying this year at any point throughout this video, links will be down in the description below. You can get them from there, and you can help support the channel at the exact same time. Now, starting off with the outside of the iPhone XS Max. This phone originally came out back in 2018, so it is a significantly older device nowadays than what it was before. So it's approaching like over 7 years old now, which is insane. So getting a phone of that caliber that's basically this old is actually pretty crazy to me. And that is just kind of one of those things and one of those key examples that you're going to have to kind of remember. So that in and of itself is already a pretty big difference. Now on the front side, you're getting a 6.5-inch Super Retina OLED display. So it is going to be a little bit of a different type of display here for the most part. As you can imagine, it is going to be not as great. It's not going to be as bright. It's not going to be an always-on display. You're going to be getting a pretty thick, a thicker amount of bezel in this phone with the notch. Also, no ProMotion, no 120 Hz here. That is going to be a pretty big disadvantage for this type of device as it kind of comes down to it. So if you're going to go through and pick up a phone, that right there is probably going to be a pretty big downside just from that side of itself. Like, this panel definitely shows its age in some ways. With something like the iPhone 17, this phone is going to be giving you a much better type of experience in almost every single way. So the iPhone 17 here is going to be giving you a slightly smaller 6.3-inch Super Retina XDR OLED display. So this type of panel, for the most part, it is going to be slightly smaller, but it's not really that big of a deal. And I think this type of panel still looks pretty good for the most part. You're going to be getting a, always-on display. It's giving you the dynamic island, which is slightly slimmer in terms of the notch and bezel, but it's also going to be giving you a ProMotion display 120 Hz. So that right there is already going to be a pretty big advantage for that type of device. And if you are about to go through and pick up a device, this right there is actually going to be a pretty big advantage in my personal opinion. So I feel like, once again, if I'm going to go through and pick up a device, I actually do like buying, getting a phone like this, because it is going to hold up that much better, which is something that's really awesome here. So that in and of itself, I think is a really, really nice thing. Now you're both, getting charging ports at the bottom, but the iPhone 17's charging port basically is a USB Type-C port. The XS Max is a Lightning port. On the back side, you're basically going to be able to get this standard glass back, which still feels and looks great. The iPhone 17 is giving you this frosted glass back, which is probably going to hold up slightly better because it is a more, it's more of like a relevant type of feeling rather than the XS Max. Dual camera setups on the backside of both of them, which is always great. You're going to be getting dual cameras. You're getting MagSafe capability on the iPhone 17. It is pretty much a way better experience on something like an iPhone 17 rather than an iPhone XS Max. So if I'm in the market and I'm about to go through and pick up a device, definitely something like an iPhone 17 is the one that holds up better. The XS Max has an advantage because it is significantly cheaper. You might look at something like an iPhone XS Max and you might want to go through and pick up that phone just because it is a cheaper type of phone. But because it is cheaper, it's going to be giving you cheaper parts. It's older, might not be that great anymore. And that is kind of one of those things to keep in mind there. When it comes down to the cameras, this is also another big advantage or disadvantage depending on how you take a look at it. So both of these phones are going to be giving you dual camera setups on the backside. But the thing to keep in mind here is that with something like the iPhone XS Max from 2018, this phone is really only going to be giving you this like dual camera setup, but one of those sensors is a telephoto lens and it gives you 2x zoom. Whereas on the iPhone 17, one of those cameras is an ultra-wide camera, and guess what? You get the same 2x zoom on inside of the iPhone 17. So the fact that you get that same type of capability on the iPhone 17 when compared to the XS Max is actually pretty crazy because you're getting basically the same type of, camera. You're getting different camera layouts, with the same zooming in. So I will tell you from that side, the iPhone 17 does have kind of like a higher likelihood of giving you a way better camera. That type of camera is going to be significantly better. It's going to hold up better. It's going to look better. You're getting dual capture mode. You're getting center stage capability inside. Like, that is going to be such a good sensor for you to go ahead and buy, that if I'm in the market and I'm going to go through and pick up a phone, definitely something like an iPhone 17's camera is going to be the better one here in almost every single way. So in terms of that kind of covers it up there. Now, on top of that, when it comes down to their software longevity, this is one of the bigger disadvantages for something like an iPhone XS Max. This phone is pretty much already done getting software support. So this is one of the bigger disadvantages here for the most part. And if you're going to go through and pick up a phone, this is going to be one of the kind of bigger problems that you're going to be experiencing. The iPhone XS Max stopped getting software support on iOS, 18.7. So it is still getting some iOS 18 updates, but it's not really going to be lasting that much longer. Whereas on something like the iPhone XS Max, because it's already done, it doesn't really make too much sense. The iPhone 17 is going to make a lot more sense in this particular situation, because that one is still supported with software, and that is going to be another advantage there for that type of device. Now, when it comes down to their battery life, the iPhone XS Max is going to be giving you this 15 hours of video playback, which is good for an old phone. The 17 is giving you 30 hours of video playback. So the iPhone 17 is going to last for a significantly longer period of time than something like an iPhone XS Max, probably more than twice the amount of battery life on the iPhone 17, which is actually pretty insane. So that right there, I think, is going to be another advantage for something like an iPhone 17 when it comes down to it. And finally, when it comes down to the performance, the iPhone XS Max is giving you the Apple A12 Bionic chip inside of it with 4 GB of RAM, where the iPhone 17 is giving you the Apple A19 chipset inside of it with 8 GB of RAM. So you're getting significantly more RAM inside of something like an iPhone 17. You're getting a way better chipset. You're getting an amazing type of capability for the most part inside of the iPhone 17, and you're getting a ProMotion display. So that phone is going to feel like a much faster phone when it comes down to it. So that right there is going to be another advantage for something like an iPhone 17. But this is the thing that I kind of think about, right? Like, if I'm about to go through and pick up a phone, the thing that I would think about here is that with something like an iPhone 17, this device is basically already, it's the top of the top, but it's $800. And, of course, we would think the iPhone 17 is going to be the best phone here because it is, significantly more expensive than a XS Max. The thing you're going to have to remember here with the iPhone XS Max, though, is that it's so much older, it's so much cheaper, and I wouldn't recommend buying that phone anymore because it is kind of outdated with software. It didn't get iOS 26. However, there are a lot of phones in between that I would still recommend buying. Phones like an iPhone 14 Pro, that is a massive upgrade coming from the iPhone XS Max. An iPhone 15 Pro as well, that is another very, very, very big update coming from the iPhone XS Max. You don't have to spend the $800 on the 17. Look in the used market, look at an iPhone 14 Pro or an iPhone 15 Pro, and try seeing if you are comfortable buying those types of phones, because those aren't that far off from an iPhone 17, and you can still save yourself hundreds of dollars by buying one of those devices. So in terms of that kind of covers it up there. If you have any other thoughts or questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.